my next point is winning your people's mind. Winning your people's mind is the secret to behavior modification. You hear a lot about this today in management training programs, you know, in seminars and so forth. That's about the reinforcement of desired behavior will eliminate undesired behavior. You hear me, Daddy? Hey, Mom. The reinforcement of desired behavior will eliminate undesired behavior. When I read that, I thought about a friend that I used to work with named Juanita. Juanita was one of these people with an even temper. She stayed mad all the time. I guess y'all seen a few of these, you know, in the plant. But I saw her one morning. She was stalking the boss, mad as fire. She said, "You wait till that turkey gets back out of that office." And boy, she told what she's going to do to her. And why. I felt right sorry for him because she could wear you out. So I didn't see her again way over in the day. But that afternoon, I saw her. I said, "Hey, what, by the way, Juanita, did you get O'Henry this morning when he came out of the office?" She said, "No." Said he came down there and started talking to me about how clean I keep my job. Said he said he never was embarrassed to bring a visitor by my job because he could count on it being clean. He said he bet I was a good housekeeper. She is. I've been in her house. Now, y'all, he saw this storm brewing. He headed her off, you know. He knew what he was fixing to get. He knew what he was doing. Now, what he told her was the truth. She was the neatest person I ever saw. But, boss, listen, it wouldn't have been enough for him to go up and say, "Juanita, I appreciate you keeping your job so neat." That wasn't enough. He had to keep talking just as hard as he could. "You know what, Juanita, every time we have a visitor, and I bring them by your job, I'm never worried about it. I know it's going to be clean." And that wasn't quite enough. Boss, you're probably going to need 3 things when you reinforce. If you're going to really reinforce somebody, you need to say about 3 things of it. He went ahead and said, "You know what, Juanita, I bet you're a good housekeeper." Away went the hostility. Desired behavior will you know, help get you people's mind. Between my ears is a computer. If it could be built outside of my skull, it'd cover 10 acres and cost $10 billion. If you've got a dozen employees, you've got a dozen of these computers in your hands 8 hours a day, and you are a computer programmer. Everybody in this room is a computer programmer, whether you ever went to school or not. This computer does not record any programs from my peers. My peers do not program this computer. It's my superiors. It's you, Daddy. It's you, Mother. It's me, Granny. It's you, Boss. My superiors program this computer. If you're going to get positive back, you've got to put positives in. I don't know a thing about computers. I don't know software from Tupperware. But I know you can't get it if it hasn't been programmed into it. I know what you're thinking. What am I going to do if I get a hold of one of these computers and somebody else has messed it up before I got it? Well, I'm happy to tell you that you can reprogram a messed up computer if one thing is true. My boss called me one night all the way across the mail. He said, "Mildred, I just want you to come here. I just want you to come here." I walked over where he was. He said, "I want you to look sitting down yonder." I looked, and this young man was sitting down there with his head down. He said, "What do you think he's doing?" I said, "Well, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I guess he's asleep." And that's right, he's asleep. He said, "If he wasn't asleep, I couldn't find him. I've had him on this job, this job, this job. Got him mopping. He won't even mop." Said, "That kid ain't worth it." I won't tell you what he said. I said, "Well, Henry, have you ever tried bragging on him?" He said, "I have tried everything." "What did you say?" I said, "Have you ever tried bragging on the little old fella?" He said, "What in the world would I brag on?" I said, "Well, it looked like if you looked hard enough, you could find something." He said, "You find something. You find something. Let me see you find something." I looked, folks, and I grant you it was rough. To start with, this child had 3 heads of hair. I have never seen as much hair on one little head in my life, y'all. It was out to here. He had on enough of necklaces to sink a whale. He had little old black eyes, said, "Just leave me alone." He's a little Spanish fella. Well, I found out his name. I walked around him a few nights to try to see if I could find out, if I could talk to him. Found out his name was Terrell. I walked up to him one night and I said, son, they told me your name was Terrell. He said, well, that's right. I said, you know what, son? I like that name. I don't know another guy with it. I bet when you was born, your mama named you Terrell. I bet she tried to look down the road and see when you'd grow up and be somebody special. And that's not a name for an ordinary guy. I really like it. I went home that morning and I wrote him a little poem about his name. I brought it back in there that night and I gave it to him. And I got in his heart door. I got inside his heart. And it was a mess. Terrell was a prisoner, y'all. I got in his mind. Terrell was a prisoner. He was on work release. Y'all know what that is. Every night, an unmarked van would bring him to the plant. The next morning, they picked him up, took him back to work. So he confided. Nobody knew this. He confided this to me. And I started trying to reprogram his little computer. And I tried to keep my relationship with him job-related. You can remember those two words. Keep, as much as you can, keep your relationship job-related. Terrell was what my mama used to call sorry. Have y'all ever heard that? This old boy is sorry. That meant he wouldn't work, Well, Terrell was sorry, y'all. He wouldn't work regular, wouldn't work well. So I started on him about that. I said, Terrell, you know what? I wish you'd just start working every night and just show these people you can work just the same as anybody else. I said, when my sisters brought me in here and put me to work, they made me do it. And now I never did think about being off. And you won't either if you do. I wish you just start working every night. Folks, he started working every night. And I said, son, do your job right. Do it right. And the length of time it's going to take you to half do it, and that same amount of time, son, you can do it right. You are going to have to stay down here 8 hours anyway. That van is not going to pick you up till 8 o'clock in the morning. And you might as well make the most of it. You might as well make all the money you can. Get a few promotions. Be the best thing they ever hired at whatever you're doing. And I saw a change in Terrell. And I said, son, when you quit work, when you get out of prison, don't quit work. They would. When they come on that program, the day they got out of jail, we'd never lay eyes on them again. I said, now don't you do that. If you want to get something else later, good. But you keep this job, son, till you get another one. Because your job is the spine of your self-image. Outside of your ticket to heaven, your job is the most important thing you've got. I said that one night over in Spartanburg. Old boy jumped up and said, no, my wife is. I said, how long you think she'd stay with you if you didn't have a job? I tried to impress on Terrell the importance of having a job and doing it right, and I saw a change in him. And I bragged on him one night, and this was the truth. I said, son, they paid $27,000 for these machines. They were sussers. Some of y'all know what that is. I said, they paid $27,000 a piece for these things, but they still squirt oil on the floor. For 35 years, I've been slipping and sliding in it. I've never seen a loom that didn't do it. I said, they do it too. And I've had this problem for over 35 years, until now. For the first time in my textile career, I'm not having this problem since you've been mopping. And I just wanted to tell you, son, how much I appreciate the good job you're doing with that mop. That child liked to mop my floor off that night. Every time I looked, he was down under the loom hunting oil. Got him motivated, got him want to, And that was the truth. But this was a lie, y'all. But I want him to cut that hair. Y'all, he wore grease on it. Grease all the way out to the end of it. And, in the weave room, y'all, in our kind of a weave room, you talk like this. You have to put your mouth right up to the other person's ear. You don't look at it, or they won't hear you. Okay? When I talked to Terrell, his hair would hit my glasses. And that was good grease he wore on, y'all. You couldn't get it off. I was constantly wiping and rubbing and wiping and rubbing. I worked for months looking through a haze at this child. And I wanted him to cut his hair, but I didn't want to hurt his feelings for anything in the world. So one night I said, son, I like your hair all right like it is. But I believe the young people would like it better if it was a little shorter. You don't see too many of these big ones. They've gone out, I think. And I said, it's coming summertime. It'll be a lot cooler in the plant. I said, you might want to think about getting a haircut. If you didn't like it, you could always let it grow back out. 2 or 3 nights later, he walked in with that haircut. I hardly recognize him, y'all. I know he got it cut in the prison barbershop, and they got every bit of it. He went from this to absolutely nothing. But he looked good to me. And that I didn't know until that night that I was having as much influence on Terrell as I was. But that night, when he came in there without that hair, I realized the Lord had put that child in my path. And y'all, I tried every way in the world that I could to motivate him, inspire him. I left Terrell in the wee room. I went to the draw-in room where I worked 5 years before I retired. Now, I guess it's been a year or two since I'd seen Terrell. I was down there working one day, and I looked up, and there he stood in the draw-in room door grinning. My heart skipped a beat just as soon as I saw him. He had taken my advice. He'd been out of jail a while. He was still working. There he stood in a clean white shirt, short hair, and one necklace. One little narrow chain was all he had. Boy, I started over there to him. He hollered before I got there. He said, "I'm working every day." He knew that would wind my clock, you know. I walked on over. He said, "I'm Dolphin Clock." That meant he'd been promoted up off his mopping job. I tried again to, you know, inspire him and try to tell him to learn to fix, you know, and I tried to help him again all I could. I am not trying to tell y'all that I think I got some kind of insight into human nature and human relations. But folks, I was able to help this child change the direction of his life. And all I had to start with was his name. You can reprogram a messed up computer if you care. If you care, bosses. Now, when I first started with this little bushy-headed kid, I didn't care anything about him. I was just going to try to see if I could find out where he was coming from, you know. But in, Lord, no time at all, I fell in love with him. I told him if he didn't have any place to go when he got out of jail, he could come to my house. It's a good thing he didn't take me up on that. My husband would have killed me. But we had 2 little rooms upstairs. I'd have been glad to let him come, but he didn't. Now, y'all, I didn't do that overnight. That took me a little bit of time. But management team, y'all got time. Y'all got time. You're with these people 8 hours a day. Then you, with your family, 8 hours, and then you sleep 8. Somewhere out there in your world, there is a Terrell. It may be somebody at your house or somebody you love very much. But I guarantee you, in everybody's world, there's a Terrell. Somebody needs a boost to their self-esteem that maybe only you can give. You see, Terrell was a diamond in the rough. You know, a diamond in the rough is a diamond sure enough. Hey, before it ever sparkled, it was made of diamond stuff. But someone had to find it, or it never would be found. Someone had to grind it, or it never would be ground. But when it's found, and when it's ground, and when it's shining bright, that diamond will forever give out its sparkling light. Oh, listen, Supervisor, are you sure you've done enough? It may be your worst employee is a diamond in the rough. Look around you, bosses. Look around you. There's people on your job that need a boost. So don't put people down, put them up. This is a way to change a person's behavior. And start with those little computers at your house. A whole lot of y'all got little computers sitting around there in your house. They got names like Joey and Susie. It would be really neat, Daddy, if you could walk in now and say, "You're mad." By George, you are mad. They have made you mad at work, and you're ready to blow the roof off this house. You're going to let them have it. Boom. You're going to say every bad word you know and make 1, 2 more up. You are mad. Okay, you come slamming through that door, and you go around and turn off these little computers. Just turn them all off, and then you let it out. Boy, you blow your stack, and you say anything you want to. Boom. Okay, you're over it now. Your steam's gone. You're over it, and you're ready to settle down. Okay, you're going to go back around now and turn these little computers back on. That's not the way it works, boss. That's not the way it works, Daddy. They're recording every word of that abuse. They have recorded every abusive word that you have ever said to their mother. I think I said this in my first tape, but I think it needs to be repeated. If you're mad, you go down in the woods and blow off. The trees don't record. But somewhere down the road, somebody is going to peck on those keys of those little computers that you're programming right now. Somebody's going to try to bring up things. They are not going to bring up anything that you didn't put in it. Now, this works, y'all. If you put the right things in there, it works. My number 2 son, the one that's out there, he called me from Ohio a few years ago on Mother's Day. And he said, Mama, I just trying to think what's the best thing you ever did for us. He's trying to butter me up, y'all. He didn't buy me no present. Mother's Day. I've been thinking about you all day, and I was going to call you up tonight, and I was going to tell you what I feel like is the best thing you ever did for us. Y'all, we go to church, Baptist church. I have 3 boys. I took those children to church 3 times a week for 17 years. When they quit going to church was when they went in the Marines. That wasn't what he told me. I thought sure that's what he was going to say. It wasn't, y'all. He said, Mama, the best thing you ever did for us, you made us think we could do great wonders. You programmed into us that we could do great wonders. And as far back as I can remember, you kept telling us that we could do anything we wanted to. And if we didn't do it, it'd just be because that we didn't want it bad enough. He was calling me at that time from a job that paid $100,000 a year, and he was 38 years old. This works, folks, but folks, we got to put it in there before anybody can bring it out. So remember that. The mind is where it all starts and where it all ends. So program the computers in your world with positives. Folks, if you want to raise good children and get desired behavior out of your employees, and you want to coach a winning team, you're going to need to get these people's minds. Because listen, folks, whatever gets your mind gets you.